This 39 Dunedin News Bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Tonight on 39 Dunedin News, the city's bird life is one of the main benefactors as almost $1 million is awarded to local conservation projects. The clean-up continues on Saddle Hill, although residents and fire authorities aren't taking any risks despite the cooler weather. And is the OUSA going to go back on its decision to leave the New Zealand Union of Students' Associations? Good evening, Dunedin. I'm Rebecca Dupree. Almost $1 million in government funding is being given to local conservation projects. The money will be used by 3 Otago groups for a range of programs, but it's the city's bird life that's set to benefit the most.
Dishing out the dollars. Associate Conservation Minister Nikki Wagner has been in town announcing the latest local recipients of the Community Conservation Partnership Fund. 3 local groups are getting more than $300,000 for specific projects. Another $400,000 is being promised over the next 3 years.
Key about this is that this is often seed funding for other funding, and so in some cases for every dollar we put forward they might get $2 or $3 as well. So we're able to take small projects and grow them into bigger projects.
The Landscape Connections Trust is getting $120,000. That'll be used to help keep predators away from the city's main nature reserve.
It will buffer Orokonui Eco Sanctuary, so hopefully we can reduce that potential of a stoat invading the sanctuary again, but also it allows those threatened bird species to extend beyond the fence into a safer habitat.
More than $100,000 is going towards improving the Sinclair wetlands. The money will be used to extend the working hours of a key staff member.
What our coordinator is doing is restoring and rehabilitating the wetlands back to its natural state by planting and predator control and track maintenance. Staffing is also crucial for the Otago Peninsula Biodiversity Group, which is expanding its pest control. The group's using its $111,000 to employ an operations manager.
Having somebody on the ground to reinforce and just secure the work that we've been able to take with larger contractors has been invaluable to hold the project where it is at the moment.
This is the second round of grants from the Conservation Fund. About $10 million is left in the bank and will be dished out nationwide over the next 2 years. Ruby McAndrew, 39 Dunedin News.
A liquor store in Green Island has been the target of a smash and grab. The Super Liquor on Main South Road was broken into early yesterday. A window was smashed and several bottles of spirits were stolen from inside. Each bottle was worth about $45. Staff are doing a stock take to see whether anything else is missing from the store. They had set an alarm in the shop before the burglary, but it failed to go off. The clean-up is continuing on Saddle Hill after fire swept through homes and vegetation on Wednesday. Firefighters are dampening down hot spots and contractors are repairing damaged power lines. And although the fire has been contained, no one is taking any risks.
Hotspots flaring up 2 days later. This local farmer is keeping an eye on smoke after flames tore through his property on Wednesday, ruining rows of trees and fencing.
I've planted, a lot of trees and lost them unfortunately, which I did shed a tear or two because it's gutting because when they do start to get a decent size and that sort of thing, and I'd spend a lot of time pruning all these trees as well, and now it's just useless.
Wilden was working on his farm when he saw smoke rising up the hill. He went down the road to alert neighbours and saved them in the nick of time, as smoke overcame their property and their car wouldn't start.
I've just felt the heat and thought, boy, this is quite close, and they'd come around a wee bit as well, and I said, then all of a sudden there was flames and everything. I think we've got to get out of here quick, and before we knew it, there was basically flames and smoke.
The fire may be out, but work is continuing on Saddle Hill. Linesmen are restoring power while the fire services keep flare-ups at bay.
Today we're just concentrating on all the hot spots around the houses. We've got 3 crews working away. just containing them, digging them out with diggers and getting water into them.
It's still not known how the fire started. Investigators say it could have been arcing power lines. The cost of the blaze is still being calculated, with the firefighting effort alone upwards of $50,000. Fine weather's forecast this weekend, so authorities will monitor the site until Monday. Annabelle Dick, 39 Dunedin News.
Residents in the Liberton area are being warned to look out for a man acting suspiciously. Police have received several reports of a young man hanging around the suburb this week. Last night, just before 8 o'clock, a Raleigh Street resident discovered a man in his garage. When confronted, the man said he was looking for cigarette butts and then fled. He was described as being in his 20s and wearing a grey hoodie. A man of the same description was also reported to be loitering in nearby Hillary Street around the same time. The Otago University Students' Association looks likely to rejoin the New Zealand Union of Students' Associations. It's holding a referendum next week where the OUSA will pose questions about student issues. But first, they have to get the students on board.
To join or not to join? The OUSA is asking students whether it should rejoin the National Union after cutting membership earlier this year.
This year's executive did not think NZUSA was worth the $45,000 membership per year. Because they felt that over the last 5 to 6 years, NZUSA has not been able to achieve some of the gains.
Those gains include extending student loans and allowances. Hunt and his fellow executives decided to cut ties with the union because they felt the OUSA could lobby those issues alone. But a newly elected team's about to replace them.
I think their executive is probably more pro-NZUSA than our executive, so you probably will see them rejoining.
For now, the challenge is getting students involved. Not many students turned up to a forum about the referendum, held the same day as the campus shooting threat.
There wasn't a hell of a lot of interest. In fact, I think the only questions came from Critic, our magazine. So there wasn't a high level of interest, but we hope that over the course of the next few days there is more interest.
The referendum will also include questions about the Hyde Street Keg Party and the Dunedin Craft Beer and Food Festival run by the OUSA. Annabelle Dick, 39 Dunedin News.
Still to come on 39 Dunedin News, Otago University researchers make a discovery that could be beneficial in the fight against cancer. And we meet the young man who's been charged with leading a national choir.
Hello, I'm Dougal Stevenson. Welcome to Museum Diaries, the programme where we showcase the rare and wonderful treasures of the Otago Museum, many of which you don't normally see. On the show, we find out about crayfish, wasps and gummy sharks. Scott Reeves brings in weapons from the Indian subcontinent. We discuss the impact introduced mammals have on New Zealand's native wildlife, and we talk preventive conservation with Lisa Yates.
Mobility Scooters Otago. Mobility scooters, new and used, electric manual wheelchairs, strollers and walkers. Free home demonstration and delivery. Call Tony on 03 455 2875 or visit our showroom, 211 King Edward Street, opposite Westpac.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
At your locally owned and operated Veggie Boys store, we've got fresh produce daily, fruit, veggies and more. Competitive prices is just one of the reasons people come to us in all seasons. Convenient locations and friendly crew, Veggie Boys Dunedin, come try something new. Stores in the north, the south, be our guest, Centre City as well to serve you the best. Daily specials on produce that are hard to beat, all tasty and healthy and all good to eat. Don't forget we've also got your milk, bread and meat. Veggie Boys Dunedin, you're guaranteed a treat.
Active Furnishers Limited, home of quality service with superior product and an in-house design team who are always happy to advise and create an imaginative solution for you. Active Furnishers Limited, part of Dunedin's design history.
128 tracks, dynamic automation, dual faders, and totally digital. This is state-of-the-art music production. The SSL Digital Console. You'll find one in the BBC studios in London, another at CBS studios in New York, and now one at the University of Otago. It's a good reason why our sound now sounds even better. My name is Maddie Parkins Craig, and this is my place in the world.
Take your place in the world.
Mosgiel Mowers Plus can help you with products to make your garden maintenance jobs easier. Lawn mowers, ride-ons, chainsaws, line trimmers. Sales and service are our specialty. Mosgiel Mowers Plus. Phone 489 3572 22B Gordon Road, Mosgiel.
Big Orange for all your movies, records, books and games. Pre-loved needs and vinyl records, 45s, DVDs. A South Dunedin family-owned business for over 15 years. Check us out on Facebook, opposite Westpac on the sunny side of King Edward Street.
Here's something else to look forward to sinking your teeth into every weekend with the Otago Daily Times, the Weekend Mix, your guide to what's hot in fashion, entertainment, food and more. New weekend magazine in your ODT. Pick up your copy this Saturday.
Welcome back. Local company Scott Technology has almost doubled its before-tax profit in the last year. It's reporting an $8.1 million surplus for the 12 months to the end of August. The company's performance picked up in the last 6 months with help from favourable exchange rates. It's also receiving more international interest as a result of an investment offer from a leading global meat processing firm. JBS Australia is looking to buy half the company. Scott Technology directors have declared a final dividend of 5.5 cents per share. And on that note, let's take a look at today's financials. And the NZX 50 has closed the day up 13 points. It's now at 5,639. The Nikkei is up 213. And to the exchange rates, bit of a mixed bag here. The Kiwi dollar is down against the Australian. We're unchanged against the pound and the euro, but we are up against the US and the yen. A team at the University of Otago has unlocked some secrets to do with the development of cancer. Dr. Peter Mace of the Department of Biochemistry has led the research and he's here to tell us all about it. Good evening.
Good evening.
Peter, what has this study been about?
So we've been looking at proteins called tribbles. So tribbles, they were named after a small creature that comes from the Star Trek TV series actually. So some researchers in flies found that if flies have the wrong level of tribbles proteins, the cells proliferate kind of uncontrollably. And so we see the same effect in blood cells. If they have too much tribbles, then the cells proliferate and you can get a disease like leukemia.
How did you discover this?
So our research uses a technique called X-ray crystallography. So what we do is we try and make a really pure sample of tribbles in the lab, and then we incubate it with hundreds of different chemical solutions. And if we get the balance just right, we can grow small crystals of the protein, which we then shoot with a powerful X-ray beam, and from that we can work out the exact 3D structure of the protein.
Well, it certainly sounds like something you would see on Star Trek.
Yeah.
How long does that process take?
So crystals, they can grow in a few hours or they can grow in months. So the project's been kind of ongoing on and off for about 2 years so far. Yeah.
How could this information be applied?
So this is an important first step towards being able to treat tribbles and cancers once we have the 3D structure. It's kind of like a 3D map, which we can start to think about how we might be able to fit small molecules that bind to tribbles and block it from having its function. So it's kind of like a locksmith fitting a key in a lock that we would like to do down the track.
What is the biggest challenge in studying these proteins?
So up till now, the challenge is always when you have those hundreds of chemical conditions, getting the balance just right to get this protein to grow crystals. And then I guess the next challenge is going to be in something like a cell where there's thousands of proteins around it, finding out how tribbles behaves then. Yeah.
Have you got more funding to further this research?
Yes, so just excitingly earlier this year with Anita Dunbeer, also at the university here, we received a Health Research Council grant to carry on with the research, specifically looking at tribbles and breast cancer in this case. Yeah.
So what is the next step?
So I guess there's two branches to it. We're going to look in breast cancer to see if Tribbles is doing the same thing that it does when it goes awry in leukemia, but also we're going to try to screen compounds that can bind to Tribbles to make the first steps towards actually being able to create treatments based on Tribbles.
Yes, what is the specific goal here?
I guess it's twofold. We would like to make small molecules in the long run that can bind to Tribbles, but also the more we know about how Tribbles functions, then we might be able to use existing drugs that actually are more effective in cells that have more Tribbles proteins.
How many people are working on this project?
So on this project here, it's been a pretty small, just a couple of people up till now, but this Health Research Council funding is going to allow us to have about 5 people in Dunedin. And we've also been collaborating with a team at the Walter and Eliza Hall Institute in Melbourne as well.
And when do you hope to have some more findings?
I guess there's various findings all along the way. So straight away we put our 3D structure that we calculate, we put it on the internet that's publicly accessible to all researchers who are looking at Tribbles around the world. In a few years, hopefully we'll know more about what Tribbles is doing in breast cancer, and then the long term, as I said, the long term goal is to be able to actually treat Tribbles directly.
Dr. Peter Mace from the Department of Biochemistry, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
After the break on 39 Dunedin News, a local teenager focuses on the future after landing a leadership role in a national group, and we'll take a look at the results of this week's online poll.
Sir Bob Charles, New Zealand's greatest golfer and still going strong.
I'm sure that Sportsville was a contributing factor to my success, and I'll continue to use it.
Sir Bob Charles Sportsville, a product so good he puts his name to it.
Well, I believe Sportsville helps maintain your quality of life.
Now being used by active men and women globally to support strength and mobility.
It works for me.
Sir Bob Charles Sportsville in the new all black pack. Call now for the Sportsville special 0800 502 402.
Hedges are something we almost take for granted. A good hedge needs regular maintenance to look its best and to add value and character to your property. For all your hedge care needs, call the team at SGC Services on 0800 783 453.
Pallet fires are growing in popularity in Otago, with people who want a clean and efficient form of home heating. The sight of a burning flame without the problems of chopping, stacking and carting wood around is a winner. Pallet fires, so easy, so efficient.
Every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
At your locally owned and operated Veggie Boy store, we've got fresh produce daily, fruit, veggies and more. Competitive prices is just one of the reasons people come to us in all seasons. Convenient locations and friendly crew, Veggie Boys Dunedin, come try something new. Stores in the north, the south, be our guest, Centre City as well to serve you the best. Daily specials on produce that are hard to beat, all tasty and healthy and all good to eat. Don't forget we've also got your milk, bread and meat. Veggie Boys Dunedin, your guaranteed a treat.
It has no arms, no legs, has a drill in its mouth up to 8 hours a day and still never complains. It's one of 72 mannequin torsos in our new $3.8 million dental simulation lab, the first and only facility of its kind in New Zealand. My name is Nikki Rose Coltalaro and this is my place in the world.
Take your place in the world.
McClellan Refrigeration is your one-stop shop for heat pumps in Dunedin. We have a range of heating, air conditioning and refrigeration solutions. We also have 20 years experience. McClellan Refrigeration, call us on 477 0088.
Wake up time and another frantic day ahead for Haraway's Oat Singles. With 3 delicious flavours in each pack, they don't last long with this family. They're so convenient and tasty and they're ready in seconds. Haraway's Oat Singles are the ideal breakfast or snack on the run for today's busy families. And there's a flavour to suit everyone. Beat the rush and make sure you get your favourite flavour. Haraway's Oat Singles. Try new Kiwi Favourites Caramel Variety Pack.
Pregnant? Need to talk? 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Pregnancy counselling services are here to help. It's free, it's confidential. Call us now on 0800 773 462.
Is a very tragic death, a very painful death, a very prolonged death, and certainly nothing that needs to happen.
It's not part of our anatomy that people like to think about that much, but actually we need to.
People don't know the symptoms. About half of people you ask don't know the symptoms of the disease, and that makes them very much at risk of dying from the disease or having a much poorer outcome, because the disease is very curable if it's caught early.
Welcome back. A local teenager has been selected as a leader of the New Zealand Secondary Students Choir. He's preparing for the group's upcoming international tour while finishing his last year at Otago Boys High School, and his goals don't quite end there.
Coming up, his vocal cords. Matariki Pākawa Inwards honing his voice for the National Secondary Students Choir. The 17-year-old's one of 2 choir leaders, guiding the 60-odd members.
I got word from my music teacher that auditions were in town, so I thought I might give it a go, just to see if I see what I was like, and then I got the email about a week later saying that I was selected, and it's been an absolutely incredible experience ever since.
The bass baritone's fundraising to be a part of the choir's international tour in the middle of next year. He needs about $4,500 to travel to Canada.
I'm hoping to continue on into becoming a classical singer full-time if I can, because it's just this choir's really helped me to realise my love for the art, and it's really helping me unlock my potential as well.
The Year 13 students hosting a fundraising concert in a couple of weeks with the 3 other local choir members. He's also juggling school and regular stints away for choir practice, but a break's on the horizon.
The best thing for me to do, because my voice is still maturing, is to take a year off and then go into classical voice the year after. So that's my plan at the moment.
His ultimate goal is to sing for a living.
I faced it all and I stood tall and did it my way.
Rosie Mannins, 39, Dunedin News.
Many local smokers are taking part in the second National Stoptober campaign, which aims to help people quit the unhealthy habit. Smoking is still the country's #1 cause of premature death. This week's 39 Dunedin News online poll asked if you feel that more needs to be done to help smokers quit, and it seems that the majority of you do think more needs to be done, 70%, and 30% of you think less should be done. The Dunedin City Council has just signed a maintenance contract with local Black Power gang members. The council will pay Black Power members just over $50,000 to clean up litter, remove weeds and clear pathways. So next week's 39 Dunedin News online poll asks if you think the council should give contracts to gang members. You can vote at our website dunedintv.co.nz. And now recapping tonight's top stories on 39 Dunedin News. Almost $1 million in government funding is going towards local conservation projects to protect wildlife and reserves. The Saddle Hill fire clean-up is continuing as firefighters dampen down hotspots and contractors fix damaged power lines. And the Otago University Students Association might rejoin its national union despite dramatically cutting ties earlier this year. Well, to find out what's happening in tomorrow's ODT, we are joined by Phil Somerville. Good evening.
Good evening. Tomorrow is Mixed Day, of course, the magazine. The main item, the big feature, is on Mr. Dunedin, Neil Collins, the life and times of. He's been quite something around Dunedin. And there's all the usual things, food, art, fashion, books, music, and so on. And Body and Soul, an interview with Libby Weaver, who's coming to Dunedin next week, international bestseller. I thought I'd mention the editorial tomorrow. It's about Giga City. There's been a couple of big stories this week. that if it wasn't for the fire and the university threat, could well have been on the front page about the sort of relaunch, getting it, revitalising the program, getting it going, and the extension early of fibre to other parts of Dunedin early. Now the editorial notes how slow it seems to have been going.
Absolutely.
You probably feel like that too. Everyone.
2 years in waiting.
That's right.
No sign of it
Gigaflop,
yet.
Gigacon, all these nicknames. Now we're Gigacity and leadership, and we're looking for the leadership to really kick this along. I thought I might mention flip to Monday's paper and mention a column that actually appears every day. I don't think I've mentioned it before. That's 100 years ago, and sometimes it has some really interesting and unusual items.
And that's tomorrow's
That's
ODT
indeed.
and Mondays as well. Thank you, Phil. Time now for local weather.
This local weather report proudly brought to you in association with Silverhorn Sportsville.
Of the stream that runs through Green Island. And around the city at 3 o'clock today, 16 degrees for the central city, 18 for both the Gardens and the Tyree. To the situation, and the weather has settled somewhat with a return to the west to southwest flow and an anticyclone slowly inching its way towards the country. Just some of the main towns in the lower South Island for tomorrow: southwesters and a bit of cloud around for Invercargill, 16 degrees there. A fine day awaits Alexandra with a high of 19. Fine in Queenstown with southwesters there, fine also in Oamaru but nor'easters, and fine weather for Wanaka and Twizel, highs are between 16 and 19 degrees. In Dunedin tonight remaining fine with a low of 8, mostly fine and sunny tomorrow with nor'easters tending westerly at night and a high of 17, and on Sunday sunny periods with mild westerlies freshening, also 17 degrees. You could take your pick out of either of those days for washing day. And finally to the Otago Pallet Fires tidal and fishing information. And low tide tomorrow morning is at 22 past 9. High tide follows on Sunday afternoon at 14 to 4. And fishing conditions look reasonable this weekend. The best times though are at 20 past 11 on Saturday morning and around midday on Sunday. And that is local news for this week. We're going to leave you now with some shots from the week that was. We'll see you again on Monday. Good night.
This 39 Dunedin News Bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.